What does the engine of modern board game design look like as a player, as a designer, or crystallizing that idea onto the tabletop? How does that manifest? That's what we're going to explore in this vlog, looking at the engine. If we pull away the artwork and the miniatures and the tokens, the physical, the analog, which is important, it builds the narrative, it supports the rules. Layered under that are the rules mechanics, some complex, some pretty streamlined. But underneath that is the approach to the experience. When someone is looking to play a game, I feel that there are these three aspects that need to be represented, that need to be incorporated before we even get to the rules, before we even get to the components, before it even hits the tabletop. So now that we've got that framework, the first is going to be solo play, the ability to play the game by yourself. And what's interesting, if we went back 15, 20 years ago, which in terms of board games, kind of from the 80s, hex-based games, pushing forward a wargaming experience, the idea of a play it by yourself solo type experience would seem very, very strange, because the genesis of modern board games being built on war games, Avalon Hill, the idea was, I'm playing against you, player versus player. And in some cases, a novelty at the time, Web and Starship was a great example, still a favorite title that I love to play. You could have three people playing against each other, 2-on-1 or three, everybody for themselves. But this idea of solo was absolutely nowhere. But now solo mode is very, very important to experience the game. It's almost like an analog type app that you can play. Here we're going to need some sort of driven AI. Usually it seems to be cards over dice mechanics, because cards are easier to produce. You don't have to look anything up, looking at a long table of actions, and you just flip the card and see what happens. It could be something simplistic, and sometimes simplistic and straightforward has its own quality and has its own charm in itself. So it could be, here are the units on the table, flip the card, they move forward, fire at the closest unit, and then disperse to the closest terrain piece. You know, obviously building the narrative of how these units would act based on that AI. Or it could be a little bit more complex, some sort of reactive AI, where the card has a top and a bottom value. And the top value is, okay, flip it over. The units move forward. If they're in range, they fire at the closest unit, and then they move into a terrain piece. And then a reactive is, on your turn, if you shoot at that unit, well, the bottom AI card of the activates, where it's, if this unit is shot at, right, pull away. It flees, X number of spaces, or it surges forward into charge. Something like that, where it's an active and a reactive. But the idea is to capture that narrative experience, the rules, the components, and push that forward where I can experience that myself. Second is going to be cooperative play. And what I've seen more and more, while there are some board games that deliver a one-on-one, skirmish level games, certainly war type games, war games, competitive games like that, where it's you and I going head to head, while those do exist and there's titles coming out, more and more it's a cooperative experience where we're all playing against the game. And usually that's a type of AI. The synergy here is if I'm developing a kind of AI to play against the players, well, that easily scales down to play against a solo player. But this idea of all of us playing against the game. If we want something a little bit more complex, right? Solo mode is going to be AI, cards, something driven with that. And if I want something a little bit more complex, then I do see a lot of games one versus many working out, where I'm playing the Overlord, the War Master, the Necromancer, the computer, whatever that's going to be. I control all the minions in the mission, and it is my job to beat the players, to bring everything against them. And the players are working as a team against me. But I think the days of dedicated head-to-head, well-defined winner versus loser, I think those days are a little bit past us. I think a competitive, players all on the same side, co-op experience, we win or lose together as a team, make those dynamic decisions as a team, I think that is kind of locked in at this point. The third is campaign play. Everybody wants campaign play. The game has a story. It has a narrative. I want to make some decisions. I want some branching options. I want to play through the game. And the campaign, again, can be complex. It could be a little bit simplified. But I want to have this grand, giant story to play through. Now, the sidebar to the campaign, kind of like, well, if you're going to do an AI mode, we start with an AI mode for solo, then you expand that for the cooperative play. If I'm going to do a campaign type play, then I also want a quick start. This idea that I can just sit down and like it's a random dungeon or a random scenario and I play it out. That's what I see with modern board games. And I do recognize that depending on the narrative that we're looking to deliver, it can be a little bit challenging to deliver all of these pieces effectively. But by doing so, you're capturing two important points. And this is also what I see. A lot of game designers will focus on the experience and the market. We're going to put rules aside for a moment because rules are really kind of subjective. But the idea is I'm trying to sell this experience. You step into my board game, you step into my arena, and for that period of play, 60 to 90 minutes, but really it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours, stepping out of space and time and experiencing that feeling that the designer wants to deliver. That I see as a lot of focus, with the idea being, well, if you like my experience tied through the components and the rules, you'll buy my game. But the audience is much, much bigger as there are many manifestations. It's not just being able to like that game. It's having these different game modes, so to speak, because as a board gamer, the question that I'm asking is this something that I'm going to play myself? Is this something that I'm going to play with my group that likes similar games? If you've been following my channel, you know I love dungeon crawlers. And every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in, more and more dungeon crawlers. So when I'm evaluating a new dungeon crawler, I'm sold on the narrative. So I'm going to pick it up for me. And I'm going to say the dungeon crawler enthusiasts in my gaming group, my 5 or 6 friends that we love these, they're in too. I know if I bring that, I can play it. So whatever mode it's going to be, solo, AI, co-op, we're going to play it. But the other question I'm asking myself is, if I bring this title to the gaming club and I sit it down, set it up for pickup play, right, where at the start of the club, we'll bring a bunch of board games, set it up, you feel like playing, and as people come in, they sit down and fill a seat and play. So this type of game, is it going to be able to play with board gaming enthusiasts that might sit down at a gaming club or a store? And while they might like dungeon crawlers or they might not, if it has different ways of play, cooperative, an AI-driven, a campaign, this will pull them in too. So the package I'm looking for is like, can I play this with absolutely anybody? The dedicated crew, but also at the same time, maybe the general board gaming enthusiasts. I know that's a kind of a tall order, but this is the trend that I see and the overlays that I see in modern board gaming. I'm not saying head-to-head is dead, skirmish head-to-head or a war game type thing. That has a dedicated spot, but if I'm looking overall and I want to offer and sell and move the most units, I think this is where we need to be. I think this is where things are right now. The future beyond the future, we'll see. So my fellow board gaming enthusiasts and rules designers, your thoughts. We're designing a game. We've got the engine, we've got the rules, we've got the narrative, we've got some artwork, and we know we're doing this with the tokens and the symbols and the dice. What does that experience look like? AI, solo, co-op, campaign.